His body was rotting even before he died. The stench was so strong that courtiers covered their faces with scented cloths and still gagged. When his coffin began to leak, stray dogs lapped up the royal fluids that spilled across the chapel floor. This was Henry VIII, once the most handsome prince in Europe, ending his life as a decayed shadow of his former glory. How did the king who worshipped for his strength and charm become a monster trapped inside a dying body? How did he turn into a notorious wife killer? And what truly happened inside that coffin after his death? The secret no one dared to speak aloud. Tonight, we open the tomb of history to reveal the grotesque, tragic, and shocking final days of King Henry VIII. A tale so disturbing, it will make you see the Tudor king in a way you've never imagined before.
This story has already hooked you? Like and share this video to support History Untold.
Henry VIII was born on June 28, 1491, at Greenwich Palace. Nobody expects him to be king. He's the spare, the second son. His older brother, Arthur, is the heir to the throne, the golden hope of England's future. But fate has other plans. At just 15, Arthur dies suddenly. In that single, shattering moment, everything changes. The crown meant for one brother now waits for another. The spare becomes the heir. When Henry's father dies in 1509, the young Henry, only 17, becomes King of England. The whole country celebrates. They've never seen anyone like him. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall. In an age when most men barely reach 5.5 feet, he towers over everyone. His hair shines golden red in the sunlight. His shoulders are broad. His legs are muscular from years of riding and hunting. A visitor from Venice writes home about the new king. He calls Henry's face angelic. He says no other prince in all of Christendom possesses such beauty. This is the Renaissance prince everyone dreams about. Strong, smart, handsome, powerful. England has never had it so good. But here's what nobody knows yet. This golden prince will transform into something unrecognizable. The body that everyone admires will become a prison of agony. The mind that sparkles with wit will crack under the weight of paranoia and rage. And it all starts with one moment, one accident, one ordinary day that becomes anything but ordinary. January 24th, 1536, Greenwich Palace. Henry is 44 years old now. He's been king for 27 years. He's still athletic, still strong, still loves jousting more than anything. Today is tournament day. Henry puts on his armor. He mounts his horse. The weight of the metal doesn't slow him down. He's done this 1,000 times. Henry charges. His opponent charges. Lances point forward. Then, everything goes wrong. Henry's horse stumbles. The massive animal falls. Henry crashes beneath hundreds of pounds of horseflesh. His armor crumples and his helmet slams the ground. He remained unconscious for 2 hours. His right leg took the worst of the impact. A deep wound opens up. The doctors stitch it. They wrap it. They assure him it will heal. It doesn't heal. Months pass. The wound stays open. Fluid leaks out. The smell begins. At first, it's subtle, a faint odor when you get close, but it grows stronger. The wound refuses to close. His doctors try everything. Nothing works. The wound becomes an ulcer, a permanent, festering hole in his leg. And something else changes, inside his head. Modern doctors who study the historical records believe Henry suffered a serious brain injury that day, the kind that changes personality and makes someone more impulsive, more paranoid, and violent. In May 1536, King Henry VIII ordered the execution of his second wife, Anne Boleyn. She was accused of adultery, treason, and of taking 5 lovers, including her own brother. Historians still debate the truth behind these charges, but her death marked a turning point in Henry's life. By then, the leg wound from his jousting accident still hadn't healed. Year after year, it reopened, oozing and festering. The pain grew worse, forcing Henry to move less and less. With limited mobility, his once athletic body began to change. He continued to eat like a soldier preparing for battle. Records from the royal kitchens show that Henry consumed roughly 5,000 calories a day, mainly meat pies, roasted birds, and gallons of wine and ale. Vegetables were almost absent from his diet. His waist eventually measured over 50 inches, and his weight likely exceeded 400 pounds. He struggled to walk. The royal palaces had to be altered to suit him. Doorways were widened. A pulley system was installed to lift him between chambers. Servants helped him dress, undress, and even rise from bed. The ulcers on his right leg spread to his left. The stench grew unbearable. Courtiers covered their faces with scented cloths and pretended nothing was wrong, knowing that one grimace could cost them their lives. Eyewitnesses claimed the king could be detected from several rooms away by smell alone.
Henry's doctors can't help him. They make things worse. They burn his wounds with hot iron, thinking this will clean them. They rub in ointments containing arsenic and mercury, literally poisoning him. They drain his blood, believing this will balance his body. It just makes him weaker. The infections spread. His body tries to fight them. Fevers come and go. His heart struggles with the weight it's carrying. His kidneys strained. Modern doctors who examine his symptoms believe he developed diabetes, severe gout, high blood pressure, heart disease. Each condition feeds the others. Diabetes makes the wounds heal even more slowly. The infections stress his heart. The weight makes his gout worse. The gout makes movement more painful. The pain makes him eat more for comfort. The eating makes him heavier. It's a spiral, and he's falling. But physical pain isn't his only torment. His mind is cracking under the pressure. Henry becomes obsessed with betrayal. He sees conspiracies everywhere. A whispered conversation becomes treason. His close friends start disappearing, arrested, interrogated, executed. Men who've served him for decades. Men who've never done anything wrong. It doesn't matter. If Henry suspects you, you're finished. In 1540, Henry had Cromwell, his most trusted advisor, arrested on fabricated charges. Cromwell's head comes off on July 28th. The court becomes a nightmare. One wrong sentence could mean death. When whispers reach him that his young wife, Catherine Howard, has been unfaithful, he flies into a rage. She's only 19. He's nearly 50, rotting, limping, and furious. Catherine begs for mercy, screaming that she wants to live, but Henry won't hear it. In 1542, she was executed, but after her death, Henry grows darker. His mind fractures. He starts to develop another paranoia, poisoning. He becomes convinced someone is trying to poison his food. Maybe he's not entirely wrong. Plenty of people have reasons to want him dead, but his fear grows irrational. Every dish must be tasted before it reaches him, multiple times, by multiple people. Every cup, every plate, every utensil is inspected. Servants prepare his food under constant watch. Is this paranoia? Or is his brain damaged from that long-ago jousting fall? Or is he having small strokes? Modern doctors studying his symptoms think all three might be true. In January 1547, just 9 days before Henry's own death, he ordered the execution of Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. Surrey's crime? His family has royal blood. His grandfather was a duke. This makes him dangerous. This makes him a potential rival to Henry's son, Edward. So, Surrey dies because he might become a threat someday. This is what Henry has become, a man who kills friends. who sees enemies in loyal servants, who trusts nobody, who fears everything, and his body is dying while he's still alive.
Winter arrives. Henry's health collapses completely. The ulcers on his legs go from bad to catastrophic. Gangrene sets in. This means the tissue is actually dying, rotting while he's still alive. The smell becomes unbearable, the kind of smell that makes people gag. Courtiers stuff their handkerchiefs with lavender, with roses, with anything that might mask the stench. Nothing works. The smell of decay seeps through everything. Henry can barely move anymore, even with help, even with the pulley system. His body is too heavy, too painful, too broken. He develops septicemia, blood poisoning. The infections in his legs spread through his bloodstream. Fever grips him. He burns hot, then suddenly cold. His breathing becomes labored, shallow, difficult. He starts having episodes, delirium, confusion. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't recognize people. He mutters names of people long dead. Jane Seymour. She died in 1537, 10 years ago, but Henry calls for her. Some witnesses claim he also called for Anne Boleyn. They say her name escapes his lips during his fevered dreams. The ghost of the woman he killed haunts his dying moments. January 27, 1547. Henry knows. Somehow, through the pain and confusion and fever, he knows his time is running out. English law contains a strange rule. You cannot predict the king's death. If you say the king is dying, that's treason, even if it's obviously true, even if everyone knows it. You can't say it. So for weeks, nobody has been honest with Henry. They've pretended he'll recover. They've maintained the fiction that he'll be fine. But Henry isn't stupid. He feels his body shutting down. He feels death approaching. Henry finally allows Archbishop Thomas Cranmer to come. Cranmer rushes to Whitehall Palace. The smell hits him first. Henry lies in bed, unable to speak. His voice is failing, or maybe his brain can't form words. Cranmer leans close and asks if Henry dies a Christian, if he believes in Jesus. Henry can't answer with words, but he can move his hand. He squeezes Cranmer's hand once, firmly. That's his answer. Yes. This is his last conscious act. Hours pass, his breathing slows and pauses. Early morning, January 28, 1547, the 55-year-old king takes his final breath. Henry VIII is dead. The Golden Prince is gone. The tyrant has fallen. The reign of terror has ended. But for Henry's body, the horror is just beginning. Before we reveal what happened next, let me take you back 15 years. Easter Sunday, 1532, long before the ulcers, the stench, and the madness. At Greenwich Palace, Henry VIII attends Mass. The preacher, Friar William Peto, dares to speak what others fear to whisper. He condemns the king's plan to cast aside Catherine of Aragon and marry Anne Boleyn. He warns that breaking from Rome will bring divine punishment. After the sermon, Henry summons him. No one knows what passed between them, but later rumor spread that Peto compared Henry to King Ahab, a ruler led astray by his wicked wife Jezebel. Ahab's blood was licked by dogs, and Peto supposedly warned Henry that he would share the same fate. Henry explodes with fury. Peto is exiled. The prophecy, if it was ever spoken, fades into legend. But years later, at Syon Abbey, something happens, something that makes even skeptics shiver, because the story of the dogs seems to come true. February 14th, 1547. 17 days after Henry's death, his body has been prepared for burial. Due to his massive size, a special coffin had to be built to hold his body. Preparing the king for burial proved a rough challenge for the royal embalmers. They removed his viscera and filled it with herbs and spices. They wrapped everything in cloth. They sealed him in a lead coffin. That coffin was placed inside a wooden one. He's being transported to Windsor Castle. That's where he will rest beside Jane Seymour, the wife he truly loved. The procession stops overnight at Syon Abbey, a place rich in irony. Once destroyed by Henry during the Reformation, it was also where his fifth wife, Catherine Howard, was held before her execution. The coffin is placed in what remains of the chapel. Guards stand watch. Attendants maintain their vigil. The royal corpse cannot be left alone. Protocol demands it. Night falls. The February darkness is complete. Cold seeps through the broken walls. The guards huddle near whatever warmth they can find. Nobody knows what happens next. Not exactly. The sources disagree on details, but they all agree on the essential facts. Something goes wrong with the coffin during the night. Maybe the journey was too rough. Maybe the road shook the heavy casket too hard. Maybe the embalming wasn't done properly. Maybe Henry's body was too far gone to be preserved effectively. During the night, witnesses reported a disturbing scene. The lead coffin cracks. A seam splits open. Fluid begins to leak out. Morning arrives. February 15th. When workers arrive, they're horrified to see a dog licking the liquid that has leaked from the king's coffin. Witnesses later swear it happened. The story spreads quickly. Many recall Friar William Peto's old warning that dogs would lick Henry's blood just as they did King Ahab's. Think about what this means. 15 years ago, a friar warned Henry. Henry ignored the warning, exiled the friar. Now, at the very monastery he destroyed, in the place where Catherine Howard was imprisoned, the prophecy has come true. Exactly, perfectly, terribly. Is this real? Did this actually happen? We have multiple problems. Nicholas Harpsfield writes about it years later. His bias is obvious. He's a Catholic writing during Mary's reign, eager to show that God punished Henry. His account might be propaganda. Agnes Strickland writes about it in the 1840s. She claims to quote a manuscript from the British Library's Sloane Collection, but that manuscript has never been found. We only have her word that it existed. But here's what's interesting. Strickland's account differs from Harpsfield's in small details. The witness's name changes from Consul to Greville. She places events in 1533 instead of 1532. This suggests she's not just copying Harpsfield. She's looking at a different source, a source that no longer exists but might have been real. Two independent sources describing the same event. Both were written long after the fact. Both are potentially biased. Both are possibly exaggerated. But they all agree on the core story. Coffin leaking, dogs licking, blood on the floor at Syon Abbey. Here's my thought. The prophecy might be invented. Peto might never have warned Henry about dogs. That part might be a later addition, a story created to give meaning to what happened. But the incident at Syon, that probably happened. Why? Because inventing it would be risky. If Harpsfield made it up for his book, people who were alive in 1547 would remember. They'd say, that never happened. They'd call him a liar. Harpsfield intended to publish during Mary's reign, while memories were fresh. If the story were pure fiction, someone would have disputed it. The fact that nobody challenged it suggests something happened at Syon Abbey, something disturbing enough to remember, something shocking enough to record. But wait, there's still the big question. Did Henry's body explode? The sources never say that. They talk about the coffin leaking, fluids on the floor, and embalmers returning to fix it. Nobody actually opened the coffin. So where did the explosion story come from? Some historians point to science. After death, bacteria in the intestines keep breaking down tissues, creating gas. If the gas can't escape, pressure builds, and a body might rupture. Embalming helps prevent this by removing organs and draining fluids.
But Tudor-era embalming was crude. They worked with 16th century knowledge and tools. Henry died on January 28th. His body reached Syon Abbey on February 14th, 17 days later. Cold winter slowed decay, but any leftover organs or bacteria could still produce gas. Did it happen? We don't know. But the coffin leaked enough that plumbers had to reseal it. It was not normal. It was not a small drip. And yet, this was only the beginning. The worst was still to come.
February 16th, 1547. 3 weeks after Henry's death, his body reached Windsor Castle, St. George's Chapel, his final resting place. His widow, Catherine Parr, watches as Henry's coffin is lowered into the vault beneath the chapel floor. He lies next to Jane Seymour, the wife he truly cared for, the mother of his son, who died giving him a male heir. Centuries pass. Henry's vault is forgotten, undisturbed beneath the chapel floor. In 1649, Charles I was executed. He's buried hastily in Henry's vault. No ceremony, no dignity. Just a disgraced king shoved into the ground. What they'll discover 163 years later will shock everyone.
In 1813, workers were building a passageway. They accidentally break through into the vault. On April 1st, they formally open it. The Prince Regent attends. So do several officials. They want to see what's inside. They find 3 coffins. One is Henry VIII's. They measure it, 6 feet, 10 inches long. The wooden casket has rotted away completely. Only fragments remain, but the lead coffin is visible, and it's damaged, badly damaged, destroyed around the middle. A considerable opening exposes the interior. They can see inside. Bones, skeleton, remains. Some beard is still attached to the chin. But here's the mystery. Jane's coffin, right next to Henry's, is in good condition. The lead is intact, undamaged, still sealed after more than 300 years. But Henry's coffin is in very bad condition. Why the difference? They assume Charles's burial damaged Henry's coffin. That's the official explanation. But Jane's coffin is right there too. Why didn't Charles's burial damage hers? They close the vault, leave Henry undisturbed. In 1888, they decided to return Charles's relics. The vault is opened again. Henry's wooden coffin is completely destroyed. An artist named Alfred Younge Nutt paints a watercolor. He's the surveyor to the dean and canons of St. George's Chapel. His painting shows the destroyed coffin. They expose the damage, and there lies the evidence. Henry's coffin is uniquely damaged. Something happened to it, something violent enough to break lead, something that didn't happen to Jane's coffin right beside it. An explosion would do it. We can't prove it, but all the evidence points one way. The leaking at Syon Abbey, the need for immediate repairs. His body probably exploded, probably burst inside that lead casket, probably split open from the gases of decomposition. So what does this tell us? Henry Tudor was born with every advantage: royal blood, incredible looks, natural talent, intelligence. They said he was the chosen one. At 17, he becomes king. By 55, he's a monster. Physically, mentally, morally. The handsome athlete has become an obese invalid. The witty intellectual has become a paranoid tyrant. He killed 2 of his 6 wives. He executed thousands of people. He destroyed monasteries. He broke England away from the Catholic Church. He made himself head of a new religion. He rewrote his nation's laws. He controlled marriage, property, life, and death. He held absolute power over millions of people. But he couldn't control his own body. He couldn't stop the infections in his legs. He couldn't prevent the weight gain. He couldn't cure the pain. He couldn't escape the decay.
In the end, Henry couldn't even keep his corpse intact. His coffin split, his body decayed. No matter how larger than life we think we are, in the end, we're all the same. Even kings decay. The only thing that truly remains is how you treated others when you had the power. If you like this journey into the dark side of history, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these stories. Share this with anyone who loves history, especially the parts they don't teach in school.